Google have just announced they're rolling out what they're calling the June 2025 core update over the next few weeks. You can see here on their LinkedIn, today we released June 2025 core update to Google Search. This is a regular update designed to better surface relevant, satisfying content for searchers from all types of sites. And you can see it's confirmed here on their Google Search status dashboard, June 2025 core update active, when it started, and the impacting products rankings. That means this is going to impact the rankings and the traffic for your website. But one thing we know is what Google say and what Google actually do don't always align. So when you hear that there's a core website update going on, the first thing to do is not panic. And the second thing is you need to understand what's actually going on. You need to look at your own website data and look at what other experts are saying around the web to understand whether this is going to be a problem for you or not. Plus, more importantly, you need to understand what to do and what not to do if your traffic does drop, and avoid making some costly mistakes that could see your traffic be devastated permanently, like what's happened to this website. So the first thing I want to show you is some various volatility charts. You can see this is SEMrush's sensor, which is showing very high volatility at the moment, indicating there is a lot of change and volatility and changes in search rankings going on. And we can see that across several other devices. Advanced Web Ranking here, you can see that their indicators have marked a core update, and there's an uptick in volatility over the last couple of days, along with SimilarWeb. Doesn't show so much risk level and volatility on their charts, but SERPstat, again, showing 2 days, 30th of June and 1st of July, which we're recording this early on the 2nd of July, you can see there's a high ranking volatility. Now, so far, we don't know that much about this Google update. There's not been that much clear information on what things they're particularly targeting, and there's not that much clear evidence of what type of sites or what is doing well and what is falling down the rankings at the moment. But it's important to remember that this core update takes 2 or 3 weeks to roll out. So actually, we might not see that much change or the dust settle, or you might see this volatility over the next couple of weeks until the dust settles. So of course, I can look at my data, but I'm also relying on other people around the web reporting what they're saying, such as Search Engine Roundtable is always a great source of information for this stuff. They'll report on these core updates and give a little sort of update on the core facts of what we know so far. So obviously we know it's being rolled out for the next 3 weeks or so, and it's allegedly targeting all types of content across all regions in all languages. Now, this is a normal core update, so it's updating some of the core systems and the algorithms of Google Search. And although they're calling it a regular update, in recent years, we know that that's anything but, and we can see sites absolutely decimated and some really rewarded as Google shifts their attentions and algorithms. And when I've been looking at what others are saying or seeing, there's not a lot of reports of a lot of massive ranking changes yet. You can see under the LinkedIn post, for example, mainly it's taken with a little bit of trepidation, pinch of salt, memes from the SEO community who have come to fear a lot of Google's updates in recent years, because you never know what they're going to do. You've seen a lot of small sites absolutely been punished, which I think that sort of says it all really by Google, and some of the big players or higher authority sites win, which is really important because we can't see any clear trends yet. You need to be going and checking your own website data, particularly Google Search Console. This is one of my sites, for example. There's no real change in the data so far or over the last 24 hours, say, to suggest that anything is particularly changing yet for this site. There's been some skeptics out there as well. You can see people like Charles Float, who's often skeptical, SEO expert, skeptical of some of Google's what they say and what they actually do, saying that their search teams have really been focusing on engineering resources for AI now. So it's unreasonable to expect that there's going to be a lot of massive changes that we've seen in the past to the new Google core algorithm updates. So if you want to check that your site hasn't been hit with a problem so far and check it over the next few weeks, I suggest making sure you regularly check in on your Google Search Console to see if you see any spikes in impressions or drops in clicks to your website that might signal that you have either benefited or lost from a Google core update. Now, if you are seeing drops, then you need to understand what you need to do to fix the problem and return and regain your rankings. And this is a really important point, because the first thing to do is not panic. There's actually, first thing you can check is if it's happened previously or happens in the future, or at the moment, you can check, was there a Google core update? This is a little website where you can put the search date in of when your website actually tanked and compare that to Google updates to see what it might be relevant. If it's happening at the moment, then there's certain steps that you can take, and you can actually check this documentation from Google Search's core updates and your website. It sort of runs down how core updates work, but also how to check if there's a traffic drop and a problem with your website. And as I just said, use Google Search Console. First, we need to confirm that the core update is rolling out. You don't want to make any knee-jerk reactions or try to make any quick fixes until the dust has settled. So if you do see any problems or any changes, it's best to take note of obviously when this started on the June the 30th, but actually when the core update ends, and give it a week or so after that to see when the dust settles how you've actually finished. Because again, you might see volatility in search results during this update. As you can see here, actually Google say that we recommend waiting at least a full week after a core update completes before analyzing your site in Search Console. So don't panic, don't make any rash moves at the moment if you do see something, and review your top pages and top queries. If you're only seeing small changes and drops, these might be quite natural. You might want to, you won't need to take any drastic action. You might just take your time and look to see, compare against your competitors, your content quality, your link profile, to see actually, can I outdo them and improve my rankings and retain those top spots? If you're seeing large drops in position, dropping from position 4 to 29, you need to do a deeper assessment. And that's where you need to understand what you need to look at and the problems that you might need to solve or look at to regain your rankings, so you don't end up just never climbing back up search results. So if you're watching this and you have seen a drop in your search rankings and you're looking to try and improve them, and of course this update has finished rolling out, then these are some of the things you can look at to start analyzing the problem and looking for a fix. Now, if you're seeing a sustained drop in your position, you need to be taking not just a single piece of content, you need to be doing a site-wide assessment. You need to be looking at your whole website and really giving it an objective self-assessment, objectively saying, like, did my website deserve to be ranking for this query? Is the content of sufficient quality? Are my links to this authoritative and impactful? Or are they just junk? Or have you been cutting corners? In websites like I showed you previously, this one, I built it and I cut corners. It was a test site, admittedly, but I cut corners in certain areas, and I can see, like, was it delivering helpful people first content? If I'm honest with myself, if I'm giving it an honest overview, I was putting out content in a test environment that was probably written to rank and just to get to the top of Google, and probably wasn't as helpful as it could have been to humans. It was content on scale and it could have been executed better. So if you do start seeing problems, and again, this is why it's important not to panic, you want to avoid quick fix changes, focusing on the user benefits and sustainable long-term changes. So you can actually see as well, there is a self-assessment guide you can use on Google. I'll put this in the document, the description as well, that you can go through and ask yourself and objectively analyze your website and your content to see, like, is this of sufficient quality? Or do I fall down in certain areas, like creating search first content? Is the content primarily made to attract visitors from search engines? If that's your only goal with content, then you should really be working harder, especially with AI models coming in and the threat of AI mode and stuff. We need to be doing more in our content marketing than just trying to get clicks from Google. Actually, we need to be offering way more value to the world in our marketing. So you can go through this and start objectively answering the questions to see where you might fall down, improving, and it will help you improve your content meaningfully, because you'll see where you're dropping down or not really serving your users and customers properly, and be able to make those meaningful content updates. Personal experience, and Google say this as well, generally for large drops in these core updates, it can take several months for algorithms to learn, understand, confirm, and replenish your rankings, basically. It takes time. We know a lot of SEO stuff takes time. Yes, sometimes it might take a few days, but once the dust has settled and your site's been put in a certain bucket, especially if you've been scored low quality SEO only content, it can take a long time, if ever, to actually regain your rankings. And even after a few months, you might need to wait for more core updates to restore your rankings. And a lot of people have been preying on this, particularly smaller websites and blogs and stuff that have been punished over the last few years. They've been waiting with bated breath for every core update to see if their efforts have been successful or not. So be patient. is another massive tip. And if you're checking your Google Search Console and seeing pages on your website being de-indexed, check out this video on the reasons why Google has been de-indexing millions of pages recently and the type of websites that are really winning in search results.